Let's go to Kansas City, where Deshaun Watson showed that he is the MVP favorite after 6 weeks. That's an overreaction or a perfectly sane, rational reaction?
I think that's an okay reaction. I think the more overreaction, I think, has been the panic out of Kansas City. That's, for me, more of kind of an overreaction. I get it. 2 consecutive home losses to both AFC opponents in Indianapolis and Houston. I will say that there was a blueprint placed in front of Andy Reid and that football team on how to win those football games, and that's run the football and limit possessions, limit Patrick Mahomes' time on the football field, and they've been successful the last 2 weeks. Now, Deshaun Watson has been special, and yes, what he's looked like the last few weeks, but don't forget, just a few weeks ago, right, they were, managing not stopping a 2-point conversion to beat a Jacksonville team, too.
Right,
so,
right.
This is all very fluid week in, week out. The only teams that I would say right now are a gold standard for me is probably New England, because they're New England. And I would argue that San Francisco, they're undefeated, yes, but they looked really good doing it.
We'll get to San Francisco in a minute. Let's just keep overreacting here. The Cowboys have lost 3 straight games now. Our overreaction today is Jason Garrett will not end the season as Cowboys head coach.
There's too much history and loyalty there for him to be fired during the football season. I mean, it would have to get really bad. Like, they'd have to lose, 6, 7 consecutive games? And I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're a good enough football team to find ways to win. I will say that if they don't get it done this year, and because of the fact that they didn't renew his contract, right, it wouldn't surprise me that Jason Garrett would be let go when it's all said and done. He's fired friends before. He's fired people who have been close to him in relation to the organization. But I don't think it's one that he would be dismissed unless, like, an atomic bomb blew up there in Jerry World.
Yeah, well, let's play this out here. So Dallas 3-3. They're home for Philly on Sunday Night Football next week.
That's winnable. I mean, Philly's looked, Jekyll and Hyde week in, week out. I mean, they got trampled by Minnesota this last weekend. And Minnesota's a different football team at home than they are on the road. But Philly's just kind of, who are we? Are we a running football team, or are we a Wentz football team? I was just in Philly recently speaking at an event, and I like to troll when I'm in those cities, I think. I was just like,
yeah, why not?
Why do you guys, you let the quarterback that won you a Super Bowl go somewhere else? What can you expect? I expect them to go to Dallas, be a competitive football game. I think Dallas gets back on top. So then, yeah,
bye week 8, then they're at the Giants week 9. So maybe they're 5-3, and then a tough stretch with Minnesota on Sunday night, at Detroit, at New England, Buffalo, Chicago, Rams. It's a tough stretch there in the second half of the year.
Right. I mean, we could see a lot of this where we could see, 3-3, 6-6, maybe they're at a place like that, and then they split the last 2. They're 8-8, 9-7. That may win you the NFC East, though.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, we were talking about the Eagles. Let's go to them next. Kind of laid an egg in Minnesota yesterday. The Philadelphia Eagles will miss the playoffs this year. Next 5 opponents: Cowboys, Bills, Bears, Patriots, Seahawks.
The rest of that schedule right there makes me want to say that's not a terrible overreaction. I don't think overreacting to the idea that a team misses the playoffs. I mean, a year ago you would have thought that team wasn't going to get into the playoffs, and they did. Nick Foles, of course, comes in and does his thing once again. But that, for me, is not a huge overreaction, especially with the schedule they have ahead of them and what the NFC East in comparison to what the other NFC teams look like. The Saints in the South, the 49ers in the West. The Seahawks are there in the West as well. That 49er Seattle game is going to be huge once again and be fun to watch. Richard Sherman and that Seattle team coming down the stretch. So Philly is not an overreaction not getting I don't think that's a super overreaction that they do not get into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, worst case scenario, they're 3-3 right now. Say they go 1-4 in this stretch. Suddenly they're 4-7, and they finish the year with Miami, the Giants, Redskins, Cowboys, Giants. So, they could still make the playoffs.
4 out of those 5 are wins, you could see.
Right, even if they struggle here coming up.
Yep.
All right, let's go here in Los Angeles. talking about the Rams specifically, they've lost 3 straight. The NFL has figured out Sean McVay's offense.
I think that's a bit of an overreaction. I don't think you figure out the innovation of what Sean McVay brings to the table. What plays a huge part in them being successful is them running the football well. And they have a running back that was the highest paid running back until Ezekiel Elliott got his this offseason, right? They need to be able to run the football because they are special when they can play action. And Jared Goff has been really good when he is able to run the play action game. And when you're not running the football, and I don't know what the deal is, either Gurley is still injured or they're trying to take wear and tear off him for whatever reason, but they ran the ball tremendously on the first drive yesterday, and then just, their identity goes away. And when you can't play action, you ask Jared Goff to throw it Sonny Dykes style in college, and that's not a formula for them to win football games, at least a bunch of them, and win a division like they did a year ago. So I'm not ready to overreact that he's been found out, but I will say this. Bill Belichick put something out there into the ether on Super Bowl Sunday last year that everybody else is kind of picking from and stealing from, and they're holding a offensive genius to 7 points at home yesterday. That's huge, and that's cause for a red alert.
They scored 7 on the opening drive. They were up 7-0. They got the ball, marched down the field, and scored, and then were held scoreless for 3.5 quarters. If you look at the NFC West, do you think the Rams have what it takes to bounce back and make the playoffs? Because you have San Francisco 5-0, the Seahawks are 5-1, and suddenly now, if you look at the rest of the NFC, getting a wild card spot is going to be that much more difficult.
And not only that, you're asking for the NFC West to produce 3 teams. Because I will say that Seattle and San Francisco right now are on a path to say they're going to be the team. So now you're saying there's going to be 3 teams from the NFC West? I mean, that's going to have to be a pretty big turnaround for the Rams. I think they're very capable of doing it. They have a ton of talent. You were at the game yesterday.
Yeah.
LA football right now, on all platforms, UCLA, USC, Rams, Chargers. Are you kidding me? I don't think not one team, right, is over 500. UCLA's won 1 game.
True.
USC's won 3. The Rams won 3. They're 3-3, right?
Rams are 3-3.
Chargers are what, 2-4?
2-4.
So there is not a team in Los Angeles football that is over 500 right now.
And if you look at the stadiums, it's all the visiting opponents. Last night was a Steelers home game. It was probably 60-40 Niners fans at the Coliseum yesterday. Nobody goes to UCLA games. I
will say this. Now, they aren't sour grapes here, but when I was told when I went to San Diego that if things don't go well early, you're going to be playing 16 road games. And, right now it's eerily similar. And there's comments about how they're going to fill the stadium. Now, here's an overreaction. Here's a huge overreaction. Are the LA Chargers going to be the LA Chargers next year? They have to be, but is that an overreaction Monday, right?
That is a big time overreaction.
I'm glad I'm becoming more and more part of this, this game.
Welcome to the hot take atmosphere.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.